Struggling as the barbarians and need a key strategy? Want to expand into a part of the board that is often overlooked? Want to overcome the problem that you've not got very many good units? We'll find out how you can do that and more as we explore Strategy Guide for Rome Total War, the board game. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me here today. Are you bored through? We're bored through. And here at Bored Through, we're all about the gameplay. And today what we're doing is we're looking at the third installment of a strategy guide for Rome Total War, the board game. Last time what we did was we had looked at the moon method, which is where we plant ourselves up in Britannia and take advantage of the natural defensive capacity that gives, seeing as it's only accessible really by the barbarians or by fleets. But today what we're going to do is we're going to be looking purely at land regions, and in particular we're going to look at a part of the board that is very much overlooked. And it's a real shame that it's overlooked, because it holds such potential if you know how to use it. But before we get to that, what I want to do is I want to show you what a traditional setup looks like and why it is that this method can actually help to enhance your game. So what a traditional setup might actually look like is that you have the barbarians coming from their home regions over here, and let me just represent that here. So their home regions are kind of made up of these territories over here. Also includes this actually. So that's the barbarians' home regions. What they then do is from there they will probably try to expand south. They'll also maybe try to expand out towards Rome, and then what they'll do is they'll try and expand sideways. And what they'll end up doing is they'll expand and be able to increase the size of their holdings, so that by the end of that process it's maybe looking something a bit more like this. So they're forming a bit of a box that looks like that. But that's kind of where they get stuck, and the reason why they get stuck there is because you have the Romans who will be pushing up from the south, and who will take them on and meet them right here, and potentially forming a line either within the Alps or just below the Alps. And then what's going to happen as well is you're going to find that the Greeks are not going to sit by and just allow this to happen either. So they're going to move up north, and then they're going to be moving towards the west. And that's a point where you're going to come and have loggerheads with the Greeks as well, where what we see is we see a couple of lines starting to form. So you have the barbarians sitting there, you have the Greeks sitting there, and so what you've got is you've got the edge of the Roman sphere of influence just coming up and sitting round about there. The Carthaginians probably maybe just sitting just to the south of this, in fact. And then finally you've got the Greek sphere of influence, which is coming up, and they're dominating this side of the board here, right? And just just look how many territories are sitting within the Greek sphere of influence. And more than that, don't just take a look at the territories, look at the quality of the territories themselves as well. As you can see, you have 1, 2, 3 territories which have the ability to hire mercenaries, and these mercenaries as well are absolutely fantastic. They're some of the best infantry in the game and some of the best cavalry in the game, and they include a combination of skirmisher forces and main battle cards. And what we're doing is that if this very traditional setup is allowed to play out, it means that the Greeks actually are controlling not just huge swathes of territory, but really, really high quality territory, and we just can't allow this to happen. So what we're going to do to prevent that from taking place is we're going to take advantage of the sky. And the way that you do that is we will take one of our forces and start it off right up here. So this is something that you can do from turn number 1. So up here in the most northerly region of the barbarians, what you want to do is from here, you want to be able to move to the east. And as you're moving towards the east, you want to do that along the most northernly regions up here, just like this. The reason why you want to do that is because for the Romans, they have to march all the way up here, they have to cross the Alps, and then they have to cross this area here that I'm calling no man's land. We'll look at that strategy in a later video, and then they're going to come up into here. It's the same kind of thing for the Greeks as well. They have to go past all of the really good high quality territories to get up here, which means that there's a lovely little avenue for the barbarians to exploit running along the north edge of that of the map. It's also got quite a lot of terrain in it, so definitely one where you want to think about what kind of troops you're taking up there. Is that maybe one where you get some of your Highlander units up into there? But you want to be able to move across here. So from turn number 1, you can go 1, 2, and 3. And then in the second turn you can go 4, 5, and 6. So by the end of the second turn, you're actually in a position where you can start taking advantage of these territories here, which have the mercenary units in them. And this is a way that the barbarians are able to overcome the problem that they have in not being able to hire very many good troops. They can move all the way across this board, and they can take some of these regions here. If it's your primary strategy is to come over here, then what you want to maybe do is actually don't look at those most northerly regions. If you can actually see, there's actually a shorter route running across here. So what we can do is we can pick up our army here, and we can go 1, 2, and 3. And so actually you can see from turn number 1, the barbarians are actually able to enter into one of the mercenary spaces. I believe that this is the Thracians. Make sure you're taking along one of your large armies, because just take a look at those dice that you have to roll, but that has the potential that you could lose the 3 main battle cards. Okay, so you've got to take quite a big army in order to take advantage of that. But if you can get there out of the gate, you can move straight into here. And what I'd recommend is that if you want to make that grab, don't even stop to try and take the territories behind it. Just go straight into here, take it, hold it. From there, you'll then want to build some walls that'll defend against the Greek armies that are coming up. And crucially, what you want to do is you want to build a barracks. And the reason why you want to build a barracks is because it gives you the opportunity to then move this army around. And what can happen in the mid to the late game is if one of your armies ends up getting destroyed, wiped off the map, and you come back and rebuild it, if you've built a barracks in here, then what that means is that you are able to go ahead and actually launch that army from here, which means that you can be a threat to the Romans coming in from the east. Can you believe that I'm saying that? The barbarians have the opportunity to actually take the Romans on coming in from the east. So from here you can attack the Romans from the east. You can head down towards the Greeks in the south. You've also got the opportunity that you can continue to move sideways. And in particular, that's going to take you to this lovely little region here, which I'm calling the Little Head. That will be a strategy that we will look at in the future, and the importance of that. But as you can see, the barbarians have the potential from turn number 1 to be able to assert a lot of influence over the northeastern part of the board, and in particular putting pressure onto the Greeks really, really early on in the game. The other advantage of that as well is that what you're able to do is actually, pardon me guys, let me just get rid of all this just now. What you're actually able to do is to set up, is to actually set up lines of communication. And that's going to be absolutely crucial, because if you want to be able to replenish armies out here, you have to establish lines of communication. But as you can see, so here's the first barbarian army here. So you can place one here, one here, one here. And you can do this with relatively little resistance. to be honest, coming from the Greeks and the Romans, because it's just too far away from them to really take advantage of that. So you can establish this line of communication. From that as well, what you might be able to do is to be able to put down some of your markets, because remember, keep in mind, the barbarians don't need to have roads in order to have markets, and therefore you've not just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coins coming in a single turn if you own those territories, but if you put markets in them, then that's going to add to that as well. So you can potentially double that to 10, and suddenly between half and a third and a half of your income could come just from those most northerly territories, which seem to just be so far north that nobody bothers to take advantage of them. So that's the way that the barbarians are able to take advantage of that. And what's happening here is that they're starting in their home territory, they're crossing the sky, and then what they're doing is taking a look at these mercenary regions over here. That's the way that they can recruit in, so that in the late game they can have some really good quality units. These territories here that contain the mercenaries, I'm calling the sun. That is another future strategy that we'll be looking at. Oh, pardon me, guys. Let me just put that back. That's another future strategy that we'll be looking at. For now, though, let's just go back and let me show you one more thing that you're going to have to keep in mind. What you're doing is, as you're advancing an army across here, you could consider putting all of your cavalry units into a single army, because that army is going to be able to move much faster. That army is able to move 5 points instead of 4. So you could have one of your armies that is purely consisting of cavalry and also the general. If you take a look at the barbarian general, he's actually someone who's just been held up by he's been held up by some of his fellow bodyguards, and so how it is that they're able to move so rapidly at the speed of a horse is beyond me, but it's good fun to think about. But anyway, the generals and cavalry units able to move 5 spaces in one go. So potentially what that means is you can actually capture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, capture all of those regions in a single turn. You might have to get really, really lucky with your die rolls, but potentially you can actually do that. I would maybe advise against that. Maybe what you want to do is that you'd maybe want to advance along here, and just make sure that your advance is going to be sustainable, or you do a quick land grab of this region here and pick up some Thracians to help you out with taking some of these other territories here, because from here you're not just able to move back into your own home territories. You can think about some other places. So you can attack into no man's land, which we'll talk about later. You can attack up into the sun and take some of these other mercenary areas. I can talk about that again later. You can move over here to the Little Head, and that gives you access to the seaport here. I'm really looking forward to that video, guys. Just keep that in mind. Or you can move down here in this area that I call the steppes. We'll get to that later and how you can navigate that. This just opens up the board so much for the barbarians going forwards. What you want to keep in mind is that as you're advancing, remember there's a card that allows you to or a few cards that allow you to hire mercenaries. So if you're able to move one of your agents into a region that has mercenaries in it, and you've got an army that is within 4 spaces, then you're able to recruit into those mercenaries into that army. So let's take a look what that could look like here. So if you had one of those cards in your first turn and you're thinking, oh, this is fantastic, I'll be able to use this and to recruit some mercenaries, then get your agent out on the board and go 1, 2, 3, and or 4. If you've got the ability to be able to do 2 actions and you've got 2 of those cards, very unlikely, then you'll be able to do it. So you're probably only going to be able to recruit once. But you have the opportunity to recruit from either of these 2 regions here. but the closer you have it, then the closer, the more likely that they are going to be able to recruit into one of the armies. So let's say you place your agent here, and you've got that card. So that's going to allow you to recruit mercenaries into an army that is within 4 spaces of that. So, of course, if you move armies in that direction, then that's going to be absolutely fine. But let's take a look at what some of the furthest reaches are that you would be able to actually pull that off. So within 4 spaces of there, that's looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you had an army there, that would work. If you had an army 1, 2, 3, 4, if you had an army here, that would work. If you had an army here, that would work. Anywhere along where I'm showing you and closer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that would work. And finally up here. Right, so there you can see what's already emerged is that the furthest reaches of where you would be able to recruit into. So if we create just a little thing here, yeah, that kind of captures what it looks like. That's kind of the range that you're able to recruit into, looking over in the barbarians direction. You'd be able to recruit mercenary units into armies anywhere sitting along that line. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic if you're moving an army along here, but you want to go slowly to capture these regions, or you want to move an army down to the south to try and head off some of the Romans. Then you would be able to recruit mercenary units into those armies because they're sitting within 4 regions. So that's the way that this could really open things up for the barbarians. So it's not just about getting your armies over here and across the sky, it's also about getting your agents across the sky as well. So that's the way that it can be beneficial for the barbarians. But let's just quickly take a look at what it means for some of the other factions as well. Again, it is actually a very easy area to enter if you are the Romans. The Romans able to very easily actually move up from the south. But the problem with that idea is that the Romans have to go through actually some really difficult territory. So you can see up here in the Alps, they have to pass through territory which has an awful lot of terrain. The issue you got with that is that if you head up here and you get stuck, you might end up taking on our barbarian army that's got the Highlander units in it, and if they want to attack you, then bang, that could be very costly in the early game. So you have to pass through there, and then what you have to do is you actually have to go on north up to there. The advantage of it is it stops the barbarians from being able to do that, but in terms of some of the advantages that the barbarians can get, the Romans have the ability that they're actually able just to move up and go over in this direction in the first place, or perhaps they go across the sea. The only thing about, well, we'll take a look at that more when we're looking at the sun in the next video. But what the point I'm making is it's not really advantageous for the Romans to do that, although they absolutely can, and they can do the exact same thing. The Greeks, it's the same kind of situation. Look at all the great regions that the Greeks have to go through. They have to go up into here, they have to pass through there, and then they have to go up and they have to pass through here to get up to the north, and therefore they have to leave quite a lot behind if they want to get up there quickly so they can start moving across. It is a great way to pick up some of those lesser known regions, but the problem is it's going to leave them open and vulnerable to a Roman attack in the flank as they're coming up, or the Romans coming round and then coming south, taking advantage of the fact that there's a Greek army who's all the way up here, just moving around, trying to pick up some small, not very good quality regions up here, and leaving the really good ones open. And therefore the fact that Rome and Greece are likely to be fighting over the territories in the centre here, in particular looking at what's called the seesaw and looking at the sun, again we're going to come to those in later videos, that's going to give the barbarians an opportunity to come and take advantage of this. The Carthaginians not really able to take advantage of this. All the disadvantages that I'm talking about for Rome and for Greeks are actually further enhanced for the Carthaginians. If you really wanted to go for it, it would be really tricky, but you can try. Can't say I've seen anyone try that. Can't say I've tried that myself. But yeah, so what we've done today is we have taken a look at the sky strategy, whereby we move units along the top of the board, and in particular how that could work for the barbarians to be able to take advantage of some of these regions over here and get mercenaries into their armies. We've seen how you're able to use that really quickly from the early game to give you some mid to late game advantages. And also to deny those advantages to the other factions as well. We've seen that Rome and Greece are able to take advantage of this, although it's probably it's probably not a very good strategy for them. There's going to be much better quality strategies for them to try out. But if they're worried about the barbarian player, that's a great way of being able to head them off and to be able to prevent them from taking advantage of that. So that's been the Sky strategy. Thanks for listening to that, everybody. If that's been valuable, please let me know I'm doing a good job by liking this video. Do also subscribe so that you can get the rest of these sent to your feed. And if you are feeling kind, why don't you share this video with a friend? And if not, keep it to yourself, use this strategy against them and absolutely blow them out the water. But until next time, guys, I'll leave it there and ciao for now.